Like I said, the type of meditation you're doing is characterized by the view. In terms of the technique, generally speaking, this general technique of the 5 floors, 8 remedial factors, and 9 stages of resting the mind can be applied regardless. One also adopts a certain posture when training in meditation. It's also important to know that there is more than one meditation posture. There's this very well-known 7-fold posture, Vairocana, but to think that that is the only meditation posture is a sign of ignorance, of lack of learning. There are actually many different types of postures taught in the scriptures. One's hands being placed like this, or the resting the mind position like this. Different types of postures in the Great Perfection teaching practices of cutting through and direct crossing and so on and so forth. However, generally speaking, the sort of best position, or one of the best positions, is this 7-fold posture. This is a posture where we sit with our legs crossed, or fully crossed if possible, with a straight spine, one's hands one on top of the other in one's lap, one's tongue touching one's palate, shoulders spread open wide, eyes sort of settled a little in front of oneself. And it said it's important for the eyes, the nose, and the navel to be aligned. So your body is kept in alignment in that way. Eyes, nose, and navel in alignment. Regarding that, there's some crucial points we need to know about the eyes. So some people, or some traditions, meditate with eyes closed. However, Longchenpa explained it's very important to actually meditate with the eyes slightly open. If we meditate with the eyes closed, one problem is that we can become drowsy and fall asleep, so it's problematic because of that. Another issue is that through meditation, through the sense faculties, it's possible to develop or to manifest the 5 common types of clairvoyance. And however, if we meditate with our eyes closed, we're blocking the sense faculties, and then we're impeding the development of those types of clairvoyance or higher perception. So that's one reason to keep the eyes open. However, if we keep our eyes wide open, forcefully open, then we're going to our senses will be overstimulated and will most likely fall prey to distraction. So hence then Longchenpa said, eyes not closed, but also not too wide open, just slightly open so that your visual perception is not impeded, but also you don't sort of get overstimulated. So that's an important point. Another thing about posture, the benefit of posture, is that there's a connection between the body and mind. When you sit, when your physical body is straight, then your inner channels are straight, and when your physical channels are straight, then your consciousness is straight, so to speak, meaning your mind becomes clearer. So that's another important point. There's so much more to say, actually. So many more things I would like to share, but we are simply out of time, already gone over time. However, all of these points, including the 5 floors, 8 remedial factors, 9 stages of resting the mind, I explain these in detail in my book, The Great Secret of the Mind. So if you want to read about them in more detail, you can read there. I'll stop here for today. I actually prepared notes and quotations and things. Most of those I haven't had time to share what to do. Let's stop here, and if you wish, we can take 10 minutes or so for Q&A.
예법 친구도 뭐 예법 친구도 뭐 토보 친구 땡다 땡인데 뭔가 소리야. 내가 뭔가 라트는 땡한다 뒤지 인간시나 사람 때 인디가 getto te tenso di different di kenso hapo achi te kya develop package mo jere di sangi bi kanji ki model ke temu ta se de kenso ki dinde hapo ina ti mi mo ji dine par hapo lo kenso de re ha mo ni dine ma jung so ma mi je da daron ti de no ri cho chi de ti na ba kanji ki hapo je ni la byo de ran la ije ma ji ni kya ba je da kun je chi ko song so da do de gen so da shi shin so da de ka ka ja ka da ti ni se gen de re du men dang sa ki ran so and the concept in e-books in the
One final point before we
Sorry.
One important thing I wanted to mention is that Buddha taught with regards to meditation that the different types of meditation can be condensed into 3 different categories. So first of all, the mundane meditation, the mundane meditation of the childish. When we say childish, we can use this word in terms of like age, someone who's younger than someone else, in terms of learning, so someone who's ignorant compared to someone learned, and in terms of an ordinary being compared to a noble realized being. So when Buddha said, talked about the mundane meditation of childish beings, he means the mundane meditation of ignorant beings, worldly beings. So the type of kind of limited shamatha practice I mentioned, right? That is being so widely taught these days is meditation full stop, would fall into this category. From the Buddha perspective of Buddha Dharma, this is not a particularly valuable type of meditation. Of course it is important, but it is limited, right? Like I said, it cannot lead one to liberation or omniscience, so it's limited and it's really not the main point. Second type of meditation Buddha identified was meditations, plural, the meditations that differentiate the true nature, or that analyze the true nature. So an example of this is the meditations done by the Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhists when they meditate on the selflessness of the person, the individual person. This also refers to the bodhisattvas meditating on emptiness as an abstract notion, so not directly, but as a sort of a mental understanding of emptiness. Such meditations can lead one up to the first bhumi, the first noble ground on the path to enlightenment. The third type of meditation is meditations are the virtuous meditations of the Tathagatas. So this refers to meditations that train in the unity of appearance and emptiness, the natural unity of appearance and emptiness, the natural state that is beyond the 4 extremes. The types of meditation on the natural state taught in the Mahamudra and Great Perfection traditions and so on. These practices lead one from the second bhumi all the way up to complete enlightenment. There are also many other types of samadhi or meditations taught, for instance, in the Treasury of Dhammadhatu by Longchenpa, and so on. So many, if we were to go into those details, we'd be here all day, but we don't have that time. Just to reiterate, we need to understand the differences in meditation in this way. And it's really important that all of you here have a clear understanding of these very important points. Because as students of the Naropa Institute, you are kind of models for other people who are interested in and following the Buddha Dharma, right? You are going to be exemplars. So if you have a sound understanding and a sound grasp of these vital points, you can then share that understanding with others, right? And so it's important that you guys especially are clear about these things. In terms of more details, like I said earlier, the things I've shared with you they're not my personal ideas. They are rather a repetition of the presentation of great masters like Longchenpa, also Buddha's own words as taught in the Paramita scriptures and so on. So these days it's very easy to access books and scriptures with e-books and the internet and so on. So if you want to validate what I've said by looking at the original scriptures, you can do that in just a few clicks online, and you'll find that supportive scriptural material.
Yes, that's your thought.
If you have any questions, please now ask.
10 minutes, okay? 15 minutes?
15 minutes?
15 minutes?
Yeah, we can have like 10 minutes and then we're going to have we have lunch for Rinpoche, and I'll make an announcement about lunch. Do you have a question?
Could you share? Thank you. Could you share your understanding of what it means to realize selflessness or no personal self? What the meaning of that is?
아니 다시 빼줘다시 무시고래 간사들 담에 맞은 타바 두고 말에 아니 단단 가람서 내가 지금 마지바 마지바 진행 나단 그 되네 도사세 땅 말이야 저도 너는 영문과 탕 지기 싸워지 당진스게들이 당진디 마지게 벌도 되네 담배기 좀 떠들고 말에 담배기 되면 와도 벌도 대화 용기 말 내가 그 대화 용 타도 대화 용 말에 뒤인데 그가 나라도 하루 이제 당신 유시 불미치 저기 남친 잡아가 당신들 가고요 당신들 노동 뭐니 가고 버터 좀 줘요 말이 제리네 도 당신 나라도 시아단 차다래 파티 잘안 되고 지지게 싸싸 슈슈면에 나와서 가게 다스면 두고네 마좀 나야 나이 사비리 타바가 들려서 미나 이쪽도
So, yeah, what does it mean to realize the selflessness of a person? Well, it means a lot. Without realizing the selflessness of the person, it's not possible to be liberated from samsara. All of the unhappiness, uneasiness that we experience, all of the conflicts arising from the sense of us and them, this basic division between us, oneself and others, the different various afflictions of attachment, aversion, ignorance, and so on and so forth. The root of all of those things that cause us anguish, that cause us uneasiness, is self-clinging, or the apprehension of a self, an I. Until we dissolve, until we uproot this mistaken notion of a self, then it will never attain liberation, which is to say we will never attain temporary nor ultimate happiness or well-being. So Rinpoche quotes some lines by Mipa Rinpoche basically say we need to reverse, or we need to uproot self-clinging, because self-clinging is a mistake. It's not in line with the way things are. It's actually a delusion, a mistake. We think that I exist, there's this self, but actually if we stop to examine and try and identify it, really pinpoint where it is, we cannot find it anywhere. We can't find it in any of the elements, earth, water, fire, wind. We can't find our existence there. We cannot find the self anywhere. It's a bit like, it's just a misinterpretation, a mistake we've made, like misinterpreting a rope, misidentifying a rope as a snake.
Tene tapena tombaji computer damjing ki computer tangare kerim computer nga pa yin sa pena aran jambi yang yin sananda chere zin sananda guru bujin sambi nga computer andona kungola datu ba symbol to computer daris.
If we meditate on emptiness, that meditation is a remedy for clinging to a self. I'll just say self-clinging. So meditating on emptiness is a remedy for self-clinging. Likewise, the generation stage practices of deity visualization, say visualizing the deity Avalokiteshvara or the deity Rinpoche, or so on and so forth. That too, those practices too, are remedies for self-clinging, because when you visualize your body as the divine body of the deity and recite their mantra and so on, that is a remedy for grasping at the ordinary body, as identifying the ordinary body as the self.
대 당진의 충도 셈바데 기도 샤송 용과 용도 내 두고에 공부하고 싶다.
And if we train in these kinds of meditation practices, emptiness or deity practices, the generation stage and so on, and as a result we find that our self-clinging is reducing, we find that our emotions, attachment, aversion, ignorance, pride, jealousy and so on are decreasing, that is a sure sign that our meditation is on track. If we find that actually in spite of our meditation our anger and so on is not decreasing, that's a sign that our meditation is not on track. If we find that our anger and so on is actually increasing as a result of meditation, that's a sign we are meditating in an incorrect way.
Okay. So?
Good time for one or two more questions. Yeah.
Thank you. What is the best time or do you practice in tandem? Is there yeah?
Well, when you say other practices, can you give some examples?
Sure. Great perfection practice, or Mahamudra, or deity visualization, or other sorts of mind training that are not directly calm abiding related.
신이 소고치마다 하면 신의 이시 저의 성스러운 대신으로 이내 신이 공주 신이 익세다 같이 버디 장고를 그네
딱 주수 전화 신이 도슨 자식 봤은 게 그 공부했어. 도슨 자식 봤을 때 신도 자. 네, 나랑 저기 다 리나와 계제시에바이나 뭐버즈네 게바이나 네, 조단 균조 렌데죠. 미쇼도지 남시 자식 녀버죠. semne pai tabu osla tangbo namdo ta dil chena yampe ringbu chapre ta ndona kansna semdi namdo ke tsani namdo ke myo pena maram zoina tene lungme bi ke choda jisere lungme bi ke choda temi deido o semde desma tene tila su kari dena su pesalo sange tetina sinste kanta pesari na sena kiram su tolda do semche chik pasgen chyo ta de jomo yetro mo godore dosun tsik pati ke tine exam kitte bi ke parto tine tingin je gomgi na tine ta kang gomna te dosun tsik ki thola tine josen gomna chapta gomna kang gomna ya ko yong check tie ti dosun tsik pati chara so pagi ne pesa su na ta ina thongre konsala je ho je ma tangi te na ayo ti mena te mo pata de shersin so na ta na dina pe mi ki ya bi yore ta do kang na sem ta te rang ha ko ta ta ba kang ki do namdo kaya semde shise losi duwa sanggo na ten didi togdara tene umadan chase gomjana yasho desu yena yang tabji kansana shine da to nyamdu gombe gijo ti yang keju desu kana doba chimbo chagya chimbo to shine haton ni ga shine ngola gom haton jel ma yo shine ni nyamdu gomne shine haton o chikpa so so pai tsusu nami te tambo ni jo neji yonde na jimiri ni da so ja shine da hotan ni ga nyamdu gombe gijo yang tian keju So
this is a very good question. Very good question indeed. So at best, there are two answers to this. At best, one trains in shamatha until one reaches the ninth of these 9 stages of mental resting that I mentioned. So this 9th stage, these 9 stages are mentioned, for instance, in the Treasury of Abhidhamma, and she listed them all. I won't. The 9th stage and sort of culminating stage is what's called the one-pointed mind of the desire realm. It's a very subtle, refined, one-pointed state of tranquility, unbroken tranquility. For instance, it's a bit like a lake. So you have a large lake that's totally unruffled by the wind, just a perfectly smooth surface, still and unmoving. And as a result, whatever appearances are, whatever is reflected in it, those reflections appear just crystal clear, right? That kind of state of unmoving tranquility, totally unbroken by thoughts. So best is if you can train in shamatha until you attain this kind of stability. And then with that basis, if you then engage in, say, the practice of the great perfection or the practice of Mahamudra, that practice is going to be fruitful, very successful, fruitful, and you'll quickly make progress because of that basis you've cultivated. If I were to go through all these 9 stages of resting the mind, that would take a long time, but you can read up on them in various scriptures, like the Abhidhamma scriptures, the Treasury of Abhidhamma that I just quoted, and also in my book, The Great Secret of Mind, I explain them there as well. So this 9th stage of one-pointed mind of the desire realm, which is one translation. You could translate it in other ways. It's a state that you will experience, can experience for yourself, a sort of pervasive tranquility, utterly still and calm, still and calm awareness. So that it's like wherever you move your mind, it just stays there, unwaveringly. So that's what we're talking about here. And like I said, if you cultivate this level of calm abiding and then you engage in the Great Perfection or Mahamudra or any other practice, it's going to be very successful. It's going to give you a very good, foundation. Another approach, though, is to actually train in shamatha and the Great Perfection or shamatha and vipassana together, sort of from the outset together, side by side. This is a unique approach. Jigme Rinpoche speaks to this, where he says training in the sort of natural qualities or natural states of shamatha and vipassana together from the outset is a unique approach. So you can take either of these approaches, whichever you wish. So please bear with me. There's something connected to this I want to explain a bit more. When we meditate, we talk about 5 meditative experiences. The 5 meditative experiences, or nyam is the Tibetan. The first is the experience of movement, second the experience of attainment, third the experience of familiarization, fourth the experience of stability, and fifth the experience of perfection. Gatekeeper said the Suya do Suchilo do the count to Tamil Tiger, Petina Sitting Namdo in a suit to me, then it died to come. Did not know, yeah, another Gomja, not a mount to Gomja, no, some Resam Yushuna. Yeah, Gomja, tire was it. Tilla constant, William said yes. So the first is very necessary. You keep your mind. The first of these experiences is called the experience of movement. This refers to when you first begin training in meditation. You actually, it seems that your thoughts are increasing instead of decreasing. You just become aware of this cascading, almost like a cascading waterfall of turbulent thoughts. And you feel like actually through meditation your thoughts have just increased in number instead of decreased. And you might think like, oh, this meditation is just not working, I can't do it, because there's so many thoughts coursing through my mind. Actually, it's not the case that your thoughts have increased, rather it's the case that for the first time you're coming to recognize just how many thoughts are coursing through your mind, thoughts related to the 5 sense perceptions and so on. Until we begin to train in meditation, we're simply not aware of how busy our mind is. When we sit down to meditate, it's a bit like putting a gatekeeper on a gate, right? The gatekeeper then becomes aware of who's entering the compound and who's going out, right? So through your meditation, you become aware just how busy your mind is. This is actually a good sign, and it's called the first meditative experience of movement. The second experience is the experience of attainment. So it's like, say you have a waterfall, it's a cascading waterfall, and it hits the river, right, the course of the river, and that first part of the river is extremely turbulent, right, like frothing, broiling water. So here there isn't the sense that your thoughts are actually like increasing in number as there was with the first experience of movement. But you're aware of this extremely powerful, coursing of thoughts, just like a broiling river. Then we have the experience of meditation, or it's better to say the experience of familiarization. This is like a slowly flowing river, right? So the water's moving much more slowly. So correspondingly, your thoughts are moving. There's less thoughts and they're less intense.
공념 작성. 이 다시가 제조다. 유념, 토념, 공념. 땡념. 땡념. 땡념 세계에 빼나 추지나 추그 나온데 강다 빼나 전부 중중증을 나타내서 농부자를 맞아버리나. 나무보다 싸는 물금에게 오토가 이내 추석에는 뭐 시행식에도 보이기로 뒷나 시집다 남도 영영차네 싸느라고 게 남도 미개와 미개개되어 때 라미 개와 하는 저거 때라 네 강에서나 공념 요념 토념 공념 땡념 세계인데 오다 빼 남도 빼 차오 라미 개와 하는 거 빼나 추이는 거 빼 추는 추는 물 되게 나지 남도지 여여 함이고 되나 되네 땡념새 되는 탈주 그러니까 탈진이 냠새라 리저볼 때 출근보다 저기 무조건 들어가 남도 강하니까 남도 탐지 딱 보거든 탈진 띵 나무가 맞은 거 봐도 땡땡이 좀
So we then have the fourth experience, the experience of stability. So at this point, it's like water flowing into a kind of pond, a pond that is unruffled by wind, and it looks very still. So the water looks totally still, and for the most part it is still, but there is still like some inner movement, right? Some inner currents within the pond. So in terms of one's mind, for the most part, one's mind is now still. Thoughts are not arising. However, there are still, very subtle thoughts arising, but they're so subtle that one is not really aware of them. So that's the fourth experience, the experience of stability. So there is still this mental movement, like tiny, almost invisible ripples on the surface of water, but it's so subtle that one is not aware of it. Then we have to come to if you keep on, then you can then reach the fifth and final of these meditative experiences, the experience of perfection, which is like, not like water, but rather like a mountain, totally immovable and stable. At this point, one's mind is unshaken by any thoughts. There is no mental movement. The mind is just stable and unshaken. So one should practice, train in meditation until one reaches this fifth level of meditative experience.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So now I'm finished.
Thank you so much, Rinpoche. I just want to say on behalf of our Wisdom Traditions Department at Naropa University, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. I just want to say how fortunate we all are. Rinpoche normally teaches to thousands of people, and to be in this space with him is just incredibly precious.